Johnson so far. Oh! That's it! That's all it takes!
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the betting show for UFC on ESPN between Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. We're going to be breaking down two plays like we always do, including the main event. And listen, I'm excited to break this one down because we are coming off another profitable evening last weekend, plus 7.24 units for clients. Last weekend did go 3-2, but hit on both of my top plays, including my 5% max play, which was on Jack Della Maddalena. He went out there, got the job done in the first round, so it was a nice feeling. We've now cashed 14 of 19 UFC events this year. Listen, we got to keep it going, but like I always say, got to put that in the rearview mirror. We've got an event coming up on Saturday. We're going to be breaking things down. Already have my client package up there for clients, so if you want to be a client, link down in the description. And definitely, I always appreciate people liking, commenting, subscribing, following, all those things. Helps the algorithm, and I appreciate that. But with that being said, we're going to dive into the main event of the evening between Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. Right now, we've got Calvin Kattar. He is minus 250. And on the comeback here, Emmett is plus 190. Like we always do here, we're going to break down 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So we're first going to talk about Calvin Kattar. Now, 3 fights ago, he fought Dan Ige. Now, this fight was pretty interesting here because right away in this kind of situation here, Ige wanted the takedowns. He was looking for these takedowns. He was looking to push forward ahead. He was looking to land the big shots, but looking to level change. And the one thing that Kattar really just displayed was just how much better of a striker he is than Ige. Utilizing the jab, setting up his offense behind the jab, very rangy striking, really extends his punches, looked really good off of these combinations, quick developing combinations, and most of this fight was pretty much Ige just lunging forward. He was kind of just wildly lunging forward, couldn't really catch, there was a couple spots where he did land some nice shots and maybe some shots kind of, some exciting moments there, but for the most part, really Kattar had good footwork, moved on the outside, landed some nice combinations, and Ige was just out of rhythm. He just could not get into that rhythm. He's kind of a guy, even too, that's comfortable in the pocket, just wildly exchanging, and he couldn't get that. Kattar did what he needed to do, utilizing his boxing in range, goes out there and gets a decision victory over Dan Ige. 2 fights ago, Kattar fought Max Holloway. I am not going to be breaking this one down. This was just a one-sided masterclass from Max Holloway. And this was really touted as who's the best boxer in MMA, who's the best guy that's, has the best hands. And Max, I think, took really an offense to that and went out there and absolutely dominated from start to finish. He goes out there landing the big shots. He was doing some taunting too. I think he was talking to DC, whoever it was, at the announcer's table, and still dodging shots. And I mean, Max just looked next level and just dominated from beginning to end. And there wasn't much that Kattar could do. Kattar looked like a child out there, which says a lot about Max Holloway. The fact that you can make Kattar look so terrible, where Kattar has looked good. Prior to that, he had some really great fights, really good performances, and goes out there, and it almost looked like he couldn't even land a shot. Max was sticking and moving on the outside, doing a lot of the things that actually Kattar likes to do, and Kattar wasn't able to really kind of implement his game plan. So this was a sweeping decision loss. I mean, I looked at the scorecards here. It was at a 5-round fight. It was 50-43, 50-43, 50-42. Insane, but he goes out there, he gets dominated by Max Holloway. And then most recently, Kattar fought Giga Chikadze. This was an interesting fight here because this first round, Giga, I really felt like was feeling himself. I mean, he must have felt, hey, I'm going against a boxer. I'm the kickboxer. I'm going to have more weapons. This is going to be a great setup for me. And that first round, I would say the first minute and a half, was Giga looked incredible. I mean, he was firing these kicks, landing big shots. Kattar was almost taken back by it. He couldn't really get in the rhythm in the beginning. He was firing heavy kicks. I mean, Giga just has that ability to really just, call on these insanely powerful kicks throughout, landing big shots, landing leg kicks, mixing it up, and almost as if Kattar was overwhelmed, and all of a sudden Giga slips and falls. Kattar gets on top, and that's kind of where things started to really dwindle for Giga. He got on top of him. Kattar didn't do too much damage, but moving through that fight, it really there just wasn't a lot that Giga did. He both of these guys, I would say, third round or so, were tired. I mean, they were definitely a lot of volume, and that's the one thing that Kattar did perfectly to somebody like Giga Chikadze, who wants to utilize his foot, his kicks. He wants to not be on his back foot, and that's what Kattar did. Kattar moving forward, keeping Giga on his back foot, unable to fire his kicks, and within that first round, he threw, I don't know, was it 5 or 6 kicks? I don't even know if he threw a kick the rest of the fight, because all Kattar did was stay in his face, push volume. He was not throwing these heavy shots, but he was able to just kind of keep touching him, landing, keep touching him. The volume was there. Again, Kattar kind of dwindled off, both of them I should say, kind of dwindled off as in sharpness by the 4th and 5th round, but still Kattar was landing. Again, the volume was just insane by both of these guys, mostly from Kattar, but Kattar goes out there, dominates, does absolutely fantastic out there, looked great, and again, really implemented a great game plan against such a kickboxer like Giga. He goes out there, Kattar gets the decision victory. And then on the other side, we've got Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett, again, plus 190. 3 fights ago, he fought Mirsad Bektik. This one here, not much to really break down this one here, but this is one where it was a little bit of a feeling out process. But the one thing that Josh Emmett has is power. He has got insane power when it comes to either of his hands. And this was a situation where he threw a strong jab, it dropped Bektik. Bektik went down, and boy, did Josh Emmett utilize his wrestling and his strength, keeping Bektik down, throwing vicious ground and pound, landing bombs on him, ends up getting the ground and pound finish. A nice showing for him there. But again, it's things that you don't really see from Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett is, he's really been knocking these guys out and having these wars, but he's got that wrestling. So he goes out there, he gets the first round victory over Bektik. 2 fights ago, he fought Shane Burgos. Another interesting fight here too. You got 2 guys. This was going to be a barn burner kind of fight. But the first minute of this fight, Josh Emmett blows out his knee. I mean, and I looked, there was a list of ligaments that were shredded to pieces, and somehow Emmett finishes this fight. It was pretty impressive seeing him do it. I mean, there was even shots where he's throwing heavy shots, stumbling. He could not really kind of keep keep his feet grounded, where he really likes to really use all of his body weight when he's firing these big hooks. And even throughout that, after the first 2 rounds, I had it 1-1 going into the first 2 rounds, but what he did into that third, it shows how tough Josh Emmett is. I mean, both of these guys, you've seen Kattar take a beating and keep moving forward against somebody like Max Holloway, and you've seen, even against Giga, another tough fight. And that's kind of the same thing that happened here as well. Both of them battling, both of them landing big shots. He's on one leg, for God's sakes. And going into that third round, he drops Shane Burgos twice. One of them was an absolute bomb that dropped Burgos. I think if he had both feet, Burgos is out cold. But he gets on top, ends up securing the victory by decision. But it really just says a lot about really Josh Emmett. I mean, again, he's got the power. They know about that. But showing that toughness does say a lot. Off of one leg, getting a victory over an insanely tough opponent in Shane Burgos, but he goes out there and gets decision victory. And then most recently, he also fought Dan Ige, and this is one here where, again, you see the power of of Josh Emmett. He goes out there, drops Ige within the first exchange. And again, both were landing big shots there, and Emmett was doing a lot of good things. And even Ige was kind of having some success there too. But going into that third round, Emmett again landing big shots, utilizing some pretty good footwork, and then also really disguising these big hooks, which we'll talk about in a minute. But was landing the more damaging shots, got the job done, gets decision victory over Dan Ige. So with that being said, I think obviously the first thing we talk about here is Kattar. I mean, Kattar, we got high-level boxing, long-rangey jab. He really has very good boxing defense. He really is able to kind of, move around and very well and kind of see all those punches very well. On the other side, you've got Josh Emmett, who, power puncher, has a lot of power, good wrestling. And the thing I also like that he does too is a lot of good fakes and feints. He's able to really kind of utilize that and mix it up a little bit. And then again, he's got wrestling. He can call upon that if he needs it. And overall, he's just a strong dude in general. But the first thing we really got to talk about is on the feet. Now, on the feet here, clearly the better striker is going to be Kattar. Kattar really sets up everything with his jab. It's long rangey. He has good footwork. He really is fine with that. And the one thing he can't do Saturday night is brawl with Josh Emmett. I don't think he wants to do that. Somebody like Max Holloway landed a lot of good shots, but Max is really slick with limited power. Where you've got somebody like Emmett. Emmett lands some of these big shots. He's putting people to sleep. So really, if you can utilize, if Kattar can utilize his hand speed, his angles, I think that's going to help him if you can kind of, keep at range. He's got to keep Emmett backed up. He's got to keep Emmett off of him. He's got to keep the space between them. So if he can sit there and kind of pop the jab out, throw 1-2, move around the cage as Emmett's swinging with the big shots, that's really going to help him a lot there. And if there's toe-to-toe exchanges, he's going to need to get out of those because Josh Emmett has that power. But the part here is that the one people really forget, again, and I kind of said before, is the wrestling. I think that's something he may call upon on Saturday night. I think that's something we haven't seen. And I think that's something where, one, he's got really great ground and pound. I mean, he really does. He positions it well. He's really able to frame his opponent on the ground, throw big shots. He's got the strength to do it. I think he's got the cardio to do it as well, too. So I think that's going to be an advantage he's going to have over Kattar. Kattar's going to look to be boxing. He may be looking for that level change. That's going to be a big advantage, I believe, for him also as well, too. But the big part about this also is really how he sets that up. Now, the one thing that a lot of these guys do, these big wrestlers do, and that have power, is it's like that dipping hook where it looks like they're going to be shooting for the legs and they throw the big right or the big left or whatever it is that they have. And that really, as the opponent's worrying about these takedowns, they fire the big shot, they have all their body weight behind it because they're looking to basically level change. That's going to help land some of these big shots on Kattar. So I think it's important for Emmett to get these level changes, to at least shoot early. Even if he doesn't get it, I think it's going to help him tremendously by just being able to disguise some of these shots. We've seen him land some of these shots where, and again, it was against Burgos a few times, where he kind of looked like a takedown. Burgos puts his hands down, he lands a big shot and drops him. That, to me, is something that can work against Calvin Kattar. And if he gets him down there, again, the brutal ground and pound, that's going to help him get the damaging shots. I don't think, again, that if they're just going to stay at a boxing range, it's going to be difficult for him to outbox Calvin Kattar. And the other part of this really is the fact that if he can get him down, if he actually goes and gets him down, I don't know if we're talking about a decision victory here or if we're going that round with the decision victory here, but if you start to look at just the paths, again, you've got the boxing of both of these guys, and if Kattar, I don't know if Kattar's got the ability to just spark out Josh Emmett, but I know that Josh Emmett has the ability to spark him out, plus with the ground and pound, and the other part of this too is the way in which Kattar blocks punches. A lot of times Kattar does the boxing kind of block, where I would almost call it like the Overeem block, where he just puts his hands up like this. That will work with boxing gloves. It doesn't work with MMA gloves. And a guy like Emmett, who throws heavy shots, who does not care if he's hitting your guard or not, if Kattar starts to do that, I think that's where Emmett has success. So there's a lot here that I like about Josh Emmett here. And if you're talking about plus 190 on Josh Emmett, I like it here. I mean, you could go knockout here, but I think that there could be a little bit of feeling out process, as well as Kattar could look for distance, which could lengthen this fight a little bit here. But I do like Josh Emmett to get this victory here. I just think that this fight is going to be much closer than the line indicates. I think the value is definitely on Josh Emmett in this spot here. There are some weaknesses that I think he can expose. So for me here, as one of my free plays, I will be taking Josh Emmett plus 190. And the other play we're going to be talking about here is Julian Marquez versus Gregor Rodriguez. We're going to be talking about this one here. Rodriguez is minus 205. On the other side, we've got Marquez. He's plus 160. Now, I'll go over this one pretty quickly here, and both of these guys, a little bit different situation going on here. First, you've got Marquez, who had been out for about 2.5 years or so. But since he's come back, he's looked pretty good. Now, he came out there, he beat Maki Pitolo by sub in round 3. He also ended up subbing Sam Alvey in round 2. Now, I know these aren't these high-level caliber fighters, but nor is, I would say, either one of these guys. But on the other side there, you've got Rodriguez. Rodriguez ended up losing on Dana White's Contender Series, ended up getting signed to LFA, won 2 fights there. Now, since he's been in the UFC, he's 2-1. He's looked good. He's a big, strong guy. He's got grappling background. He definitely has solid boxing. There's definitely no doubt about that, that he's definitely been a little bit more well-rounded as you see him kind of go through and kind of, you know, his UFC career. He's definitely really fine-tuning a lot of these things. But on the feet here, the first thing, obviously, is going to be, again, we're talking about boxing, is boxing. And Gregory, you know, he's got the boxing. You know, he definitely has the better hands. He's going to have the sharper hands. He's going to be able to, you know, utilize some of his strikes. You know, Marquez, he may look to brawl more. He's a little bit more sloppy when it comes to that. But he definitely wants to brawl more, get in your face, and maybe even more dirty boxing than it is just at range striking. That's really going to be where I think that Rodriguez is going to have success. Cleaner combinations are definitely coming from Rodriguez as well. And if you really look at, you know, where these guys could have success, the first part here is I think that first round is going to be dangerous for Marquez. I mean, I think Rodriguez, if a lot of times Marquez is fine kind of being in the pocket while exchanging, that's where that first round I think is going to be dangerous for Marquez. And Rodriguez at full power, be able to defend some takedowns and throw some big shots, that's going to really be dangerous for Marquez early in this fight. But the one part about it is that really the footwork that Rodriguez has, or I should say the limited footwork that Rodriguez has, may help Marquez in this fight. And you've got a guy who's very slow plodding movement, doesn't really move his head, doesn't really have this footwork at all, where Marquez does have the movement to kind of maybe utilize some angles to actually land some big shots. But the one thing is that Rodriguez will be there. Rodriguez will be there. If Marquez wants to engage, Rodriguez is going to be there because, again, he's slow moving, and I think that's where possibly Marquez could have success. But I think the main weapon for Marquez is going to be his cardio. I really believe that is a path for him here. And we've seen Rodriguez in past fights, you know, some that he's won or lost, that he has really, you know, 2 fights ago, which I forget the guy's name off the top of my head, where he was done by the beginning of round 2, middle of round 2, and ended up landing a big shot to get the victory. It almost looked like he was going to lose the fight, but he ended up landing the big shot, and he looked absolutely drained. And he's a kind of guy, he's a big guy, got a lot of muscle to him. That's going to be difficult to kind of keep that power and strength moving forward. It may work on certain opponents, but I don't know if it's going to work on Marquez. Marquez definitely has good cardio and enough to kind of keep pushing forward, grapple, whatever it is. And I think that's where he could kind of start to chip away. Now, the first round could be a little dicey. Going into that second round and that third round, I think that Marquez can grab one of these first rounds, or one of these first 2 rounds, and by that third round, I think he could look for a stoppage, or he could look to get that, just to get the victory of that round. I think that really, the cardio and the energy and just wearing on Rodriguez is gonna slow down. Again, we've seen his energy dip down over the course of all of his fights that have gone the distance. So this is where, again, first round could be a little bit scary, but I think Marquez can chip away and find success there. And again, this is another spot where I'm not comfortable taking Rodriguez at minus 205. I don't think that he's this high-level guy. He looks like a monster, but Marquez is scrappy, and at this number at plus 160, I'm taking Julian Marquez plus 160. I think it's the value spot here in this spot here. I'm not that big on Rodriguez. I've just seen a lot of weaknesses, a lot of places that opponents can expose. If Rodriguez gets this victory here in whatever fashion, I'm definitely going to be looking to fade him as he moves up and faces even tougher competition. But Julian Marquez, I think he's scrappy enough to get the victory. So for me here, as my other free play, I am taking Julian Marquez plus 160. So those are my free plays for UFC Austin this Saturday night. Excited to really kind of see how this goes. We have been destroying the bookies this year. Got to keep it going. Excited to see how it pans out. And I'll see you next time. This is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I'll see you next time.